Nathan Pierce stood in the corner of the community center, watching volunteers sort through donated books. His assistant had scheduled this appearance months ago, another corporate charity event where he would smile, write a check, and leave. But something felt different today. The autumn sunlight poured through tall windows, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. A woman with dark hair tied in a messy bun knelt beside a cardboard box, carefully examining each book before placing it in sorted piles. She wore a faded blue sweater with paint stains on the sleeves and jeans with a small tear at the knee. Her concentration was absolute, as if each book deserved her complete attention. Nathan found himself walking closer. She looked up, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes were warm brown, filled with genuine kindness. "Can I help you find something?" she asked, her voice gentle and unhurried. "Actually, I was wondering if you needed help," Nathan replied, surprised by his own words. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "Always. Do you know how to organize books by reading level?" "I can learn." That afternoon changed everything. Her name was Olivia Chen, and she taught third grade at the local elementary school. She spoke about her students with such passion that Nathan forgot about his afternoon board meeting. She laughed easily, made terrible jokes about library classifications, and never once asked what he did for a living. When the event ended, Nathan realized he had spent 4 hours sorting books and talking about everything except business. His phone had 37 missed calls. He did not care. The coffee shop revelations. 3 months passed like pages in a favorite book. Nathan and Olivia met at small cafes, walked through parks, and talked about dreams instead of deals. He wore ordinary clothes, drove a modest car, and introduced himself simply as Nathan. No last name, no title, no wealth. Olivia showed him her world. Weekend farmers markets where vendors knew her by name. The small bookstore where she spent hours browsing. The elementary school where her students drew pictures of her as their favorite superhero. She lived on a teacher's salary, saved carefully, and found joy in simple things. Nathan fell in love with her laugh, her kindness, the way she noticed people others overlooked. But guilt grew alongside his love. Each day, without telling the truth, felt like building a house on sand. One evening, they sat on a bench overlooking the river. The sun was setting, turning the water into liquid copper. Olivia leaned against his shoulder, comfortable and trusting. "Olivia, I need to tell you something," Nathan began, his heart pounding. She sat up, concern crossing her face. "What is it?" "My full name is Nathan Pierce. I run Pierce Technologies. The articles you might have read about tech innovation and clean energy projects, that company is mine." Silence stretched between them. A jogger passed. A dog barked in the distance. Olivia stared at the river, processing his words. "So you're wealthy," she said finally, her voice neutral. "Very," he admitted. "I should have told you from the beginning. I just wanted someone to see me, not my bank account." Olivia turned to face him. "Did you lie about anything else? About who you are?" "No. Everything I shared with you, every moment, was real. More real than anything in my other life." She studied his face, those warm brown eyes searching for truth. "Why tell me now?" "Because I love you," Nathan said simply. "And I want to build something honest with you." No more hiding. Tears gathered in Olivia's eyes, but she smiled. "I love you too. And honestly, I suspected something. Nobody talks about business strategies in their sleep unless they're deeply involved." Nathan laughed, relief flooding through him. "I talk in my sleep?" "Constantly. Last week you negotiated a merger with your pillow." They held each other as the sun disappeared, leaving them in the gentle darkness of new understanding. The parents. 2 months later, Olivia brought up meeting her parents. They sat in her tiny apartment, surrounded by student artwork and stacks of books. "They live in rural Vermont," Olivia explained, nervousness evident in her voice. "My dad runs a small dairy farm. My mom works at the local library. They're simple people, Nathan. They won't care about your money." "That sounds refreshing," Nathan said honestly. "I'm serious. If you show up in a sports car or designer clothes, they'll think you're showing off. My parents value hard work and honesty above everything else." Nathan took her hand. "Then I'll come as myself. Just Nathan, the man who loves their daughter." Olivia squeezed his hand. There's something you should know. My parents are protective. They've seen me hurt before. They'll watch you carefully, judge you by your actions, not your words. Good, Nathan replied. I want them to see who I really am. But as the visit approached, Nathan felt anxiety building. He had negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but the thought of meeting Margaret and Robert Chen terrified him. These were the people who raised the woman he loved. Their opinion mattered more than any shareholder vote. The night before the trip, Nathan stood in his penthouse, looking at the city lights below. Tomorrow, he would drive to Vermont in a regular car, wearing ordinary clothes, carrying no evidence of his wealth. He would meet Olivia's parents as just Nathan, hoping they would accept him. His phone buzzed. A text from Olivia appeared on the screen. They're excited to meet you. Just be yourself. That's all they want. Nathan smiled, feeling both nervous and hopeful. Tomorrow would reveal whether love could truly bridge different worlds. The drive to Vermont took 6 hours through changing landscapes. Cities gave way to suburbs, then rolling hills painted in autumn colors. Olivia sat in the passenger seat, pointing out landmarks from her childhood. That diner where she had her first job, the bridge where she learned to fish, the meadow where wildflowers bloomed every spring. Nathan drove a simple sedan, his hands steady on the wheel. No driver, no security detail, just 2 people traveling to meet family. My mom will have prepared enough food for 20 people, Olivia said, smiling. She always cooks too much when she's nervous. Is she nervous about meeting me? She's nervous about everything. It's how she shows love. Olivia paused, looking at the passing trees. My dad will be quieter. He'll watch and listen. Don't take his silence personally, Nathan nodded, committing every detail to memory. These small insights mattered more than any business briefing. They turned onto a gravel driveway lined with maple trees. A white farmhouse appeared, 2 stories with green shutters and a wraparound porch. Chickens scratched in the yard. A border collie raced toward the car, barking joyfully. That's Copper, Olivia laughed. He thinks he's protecting us, but he's actually the biggest sweetheart. Before Nathan could respond, the front door opened. A woman stepped onto the porch, wiping her hands on an apron. Margaret Chen had the same warm eyes as her daughter, framed by silver-streaked black hair pulled into a practical bun. Behind her stood a tall man with weathered hands and a kind face. Robert Chen wore flannel and work boots, looking exactly like a man who had spent his life caring for land and animals. First impressions. Welcome home, sweetheart, Margaret called. Hurrying down the porch steps, Olivia jumped from the car, embracing her mother tightly. Nathan climbed out more slowly, suddenly aware of how much this moment mattered. Robert approached with measured steps, extending a calloused hand. You must be Nathan. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Nathan shook his hand firmly, meeting his gaze directly. Robert's grip was strong, his eyes assessing. Long drive from the city. Beautiful, though. Olivia showed me her favorite spots along the way. Margaret pulled away from Olivia and turned to Nathan, her smile genuine. Come inside. You both must be hungry. Dinner is almost ready. The farmhouse interior smelled like rosemary and fresh bread. Wooden floors creaked comfortably. Family photographs covered the walls, chronicling Olivia's life from childhood to present. Nathan saw her gap-toothed smile at 7, her graduation gown at 18, her first day as a teacher. Your home is lovely, Nathan said, meaning every word. It's old and needs constant repair, Robert replied, but it's ours. Margaret led them to the kitchen, a spacious room with worn counters and a massive wooden table. Copper settled near the back door, watching Nathan with curious eyes. Can I help with anything? Nathan asked. Margaret looked surprised, then pleased. Could you set the table? Plates are in that cabinet. For the next 20 minutes, Nathan moved around the kitchen, setting plates, folding napkins, filling water glasses. He noticed Robert watching him from the doorway, expression unreadable. Dinner conversations. They gathered around the table as evening light slanted through windows. Margaret had indeed cooked enough for 20 people. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans from the garden, fresh bread, apple pie cooling on the counter. This is incredible, Nathan said after the first bite. My mother's recipe, Margaret replied. Olivia grew up on these meals. Remember when I tried cooking this in my college dorm? Olivia laughed. I nearly set off the fire alarm. You burned water, Robert said dryly, a slight smile appearing. The conversation flowed naturally. Margaret asked about Nathan's drive. Robert discussed the farm's upcoming harvest. Olivia shared stories about her students. Nathan found himself relaxing, enjoying the simple pleasure of family dinner. So, Nathan, what do you do for work? Margaret asked, passing the potatoes. Nathan had prepared for this question. I work in technology, software development and renewable energy projects. That sounds complicated, Robert said. Sometimes. But at its core, it's about solving problems and helping people. Like teaching, Margaret observed. Exactly like teaching, Nathan agreed, glancing at Olivia. After dinner, Robert stood. I need to check on the cows before dark. Nathan, care to join me? Olivia's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded encouragingly. This was clearly significant. Walking the land. The barn stood 50 yards from the house, weathered red wood against the darkening sky. Nathan followed Robert across the yard, boots crunching on gravel. Inside, 6 dairy cows turned their heads, chewing peacefully. Robert moved among them with practiced ease, checking water levels and feed. Nathan watched, then began helping without being asked, following Robert's example. These girls have been with us for years, Robert said quietly. I know their temperaments, their preferences. That one there, Daisy, she's stubborn but loyal. Nathan smiled. Sounds like someone I know. Robert glanced at him. My daughter speaks highly of you. She's the best person I've ever met. She's had her heart broken before, Robert continued, his voice carrying weight. Fellow teacher. Seemed perfect on paper. But when things got difficult, he left. Nathan stopped, meeting Robert's gaze directly. I'm not going anywhere. Words are easy. Actions matter. Then judge me by my actions. Robert studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Fair enough. They finished the evening chores in companionable silence. Walking back to the house, Robert spoke again. Olivia told us you're successful in your field. I've been fortunate, Nathan replied carefully. She also said you treat people well, that you're kind to those who have nothing to offer you. Robert paused at the porch steps. That matters more than success. Nathan felt emotion tighten his throat. Your daughter taught me that. Robert's hand briefly gripped Nathan's shoulder, a gesture of tentative acceptance. Before they entered the warm light of home. Evening conversations. Later, they gathered in the living room. Margaret brought tea and apple pie. Copper claimed a spot near Olivia's feet. The conversation drifted from farming challenges to teaching stories, from community events to childhood memories. Nathan found himself sharing genuine stories from his life, not the corporate victories, but the human moments. The mentor who believed in him when nobody else did. The failure that taught him humility. The day he realized success meant nothing without people to share it with. Margaret listened intently, occasionally exchanging glances with Robert. Olivia watched Nathan with proud, loving eyes. Where did you two meet? Margaret asked. A charity book drive, Olivia answered. Nathan was sorting donations. He had no idea what he was doing. Still don't, Nathan admitted, smiling. But your daughter is a patient teacher. She gets that from her mother, Robert said, earning a warm look from Margaret. As the evening deepened, Nathan felt something he rarely experienced in his regular life. Belonging. Not because of what he owned or achieved, but because of who he was in this moment. A man sitting with family, sharing stories, finding connection. Margaret yawned, glancing at the clock. My goodness, it's nearly midnight. We should all get some rest. They climbed the creaking stairs. Olivia showed Nathan to the guest room, a cozy space with quilts and photographs of Vermont seasons. Thank you, she whispered, kissing his cheek. You're doing wonderfully. After she left, Nathan stood at the window looking at stars unobscured by city lights. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight he felt genuine hope that love could indeed bridge different worlds. Downstairs, he could hear Margaret and Robert's voices murmuring in their bedroom. He couldn't make out words, only tones, caring, concerned, protective. Nathan smiled, understanding completely. If he had a daughter like Olivia, he would be protective too. Nathan woke to unfamiliar sounds. Rooster crowing, copper barking softly, the gentle clatter of dishes from the kitchen below. Sunlight streamed through white curtains, painting the guest room in warm yellow tones. He checked his phone out of habit. 7 missed calls from his assistant. 12 emails marked urgent. He silenced the phone and set it face down on the nightstand. This weekend belonged to something more important than business. He dressed simply in jeans and a comfortable sweater, then headed downstairs. The farmhouse smelled like coffee and cinnamon. In the kitchen, Margaret stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with practiced efficiency. "Good morning," Nathan said from the doorway. Margaret turned, smiling. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Better than I have in months. Your home has a peaceful quality. Coffee is fresh. Mugs are in the cabinet above the sink." She gestured with her spatula. "Robert is already in the barn. Olivia will be down soon. She never was a morning person." Nathan poured coffee, savoring the rich aroma. "Can I help with breakfast?" Margaret's eyes crinkled with pleasure. "You can slice those strawberries if you like." Olivia always loved strawberries on her pancakes. They worked side by side in comfortable silence. Nathan carefully sliced fruit while Margaret created perfect golden circles on the griddle. Through the window, he could see Robert walking between outbuildings, Copper trailing faithfully behind. "This is a beautiful life you've built here," Nathan said quietly. Margaret paused, considering his words. "It's not fancy. We don't have much by city standards, but we have each other. Our community, this land, that feels like wealth to us." "It is wealth," Nathan replied, meaning it completely. Olivia appeared in the doorway, hair tousled from sleep, wearing an oversized sweater. "Are those pancakes?" "Your favorite," Margaret confirmed. "With strawberries, courtesy of Nathan." Olivia crossed to Nathan, kissing him lightly. "You're earning serious points with my mother." "I'm trying to earn them with everyone," he said softly. Breakfast gathering. Robert returned as Margaret set the final platter on the table. They gathered again around the worn wooden surface, passing plates and pouring syrup. Morning light made everything glow. "What are your plans today?" Robert asked, cutting his pancakes precisely. "I thought I might show Nathan the orchard," Olivia suggested. "If that's okay." "Take him to the high meadow, too," Margaret added. "The view is spectacular this time of year." "Maybe Nathan wants to see the farm operations," Robert said, glancing at him. "If he's interested in learning how regular people make a living." Nathan caught the slight edge in the comment but responded calmly. "I would love that, actually. I don't know much about farming." "Most city people don't," Robert replied, not unkindly. After breakfast, Nathan insisted on washing dishes despite Margaret's protests. Olivia dried while her mother put away leftovers. Through the kitchen window, Nathan saw Robert repairing a fence post, his movements efficient and purposeful. "Your father is testing me," Nathan said quietly. "He tests everyone," Olivia replied. "It's how he shows he cares." "What do I need to do to pass?" Olivia smiled, bumping his shoulder gently. "Just be yourself. That's all any of us want." The farm tour Robert showed Nathan the dairy operation, explaining the careful balance of feed, health monitoring, and milk production. Nathan listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions. He helped clean stalls, learning the proper technique. His expensive watch got splattered with mud. He didn't care. "You're not afraid of hard work," Robert observed, leaning on his pitchfork. "I believe all work has dignity," Nathan replied, "whether it's in a barn or an office." Robert nodded slowly, something like respect appearing in his expression. They moved to the vegetable garden where Margaret grew produce for the local farmers market. Robert explained crop rotation, pest management, the challenges of unpredictable weather. "Every year brings different obstacles," Robert said. "You adapt or you fail. No amount of planning guarantees success." "Sounds like life in general," Nathan offered. "Exactly." Robert straightened, studying Nathan carefully. "Olivia says you're successful in technology. That can mean a lot of things." Nathan chose his words carefully. I've been fortunate. I work with good people on projects that matter to me. And you treat people well? Even those who can't help your career? Especially those people. They remind me why the work matters. Robert's weathered face softened slightly. That's a good answer. The orchard walk after lunch, Olivia led Nathan through the apple orchard behind the house. Trees heavy with fruit stretched in neat rows, leaves rustling in the autumn breeze. They walked hand in hand, following a path worn by years of footsteps. I used to play here as a child, Olivia said. Hiding between trees, climbing branches, imagining adventures. Tell me more, Nathan urged, wanting to know everything about her past. She shared stories of childhood summers, winter snowball fights, helping her parents with harvest. Simple memories, but told with such warmth that Nathan felt privileged to receive them. They reached the high meadow as afternoon light turned golden. The view stretched for miles, rolling hills painted in autumn colors beneath an endless blue sky. This is where I come when I need to think, Olivia said. Where I remember what matters. Nathan wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. What matters? Love, family, honesty, connection. She turned in his embrace. You fit here, Nathan. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're being real. This is the most real I've felt in years, he admitted. They stayed until the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The overheard conversation that evening. After another wonderful dinner, Nathan excused himself to retrieve his phone from the guest room. He needed to send a quick message to his assistant, confirming Monday's schedule. As he descended the stairs, he heard voices from the kitchen. Margaret and Robert speaking in low tones. Nathan froze on the landing, not wanting to eavesdrop, but unable to move without revealing his presence. What do you think? Margaret asked, her voice carrying maternal concern. He's not what I expected, Robert replied thoughtfully. In a good way or bad way? Different way. Robert paused. Nathan heard water running, dishes clinking. He works hard without complaining. Treats Olivia with genuine respect. Listens more than he talks. But, Margaret prompted, knowing her husband well, but there's something he's not telling us. I can't put my finger on it. Nathan's heart began racing. He pressed against the wall, barely breathing. Maybe he's just nervous, Margaret suggested. Meeting parents is stressful. Maybe. Robert sounded unconvinced. Or maybe there's more to his story than he's sharing. Silence stretched. Nathan debated revealing himself, but Margaret spoke again. I've been watching him with Olivia, she said softly. The way he looks at her, Robert. Like she's the only person in the world. Like she hung the stars. I've noticed that too. And she looks at him the same way. When's the last time we saw her this happy? Robert sighed, a sound carrying years of protective fatherhood. Not since before that teacher broke her heart. This feels different, Margaret insisted. Nathan is different. I don't care if he's hiding something about his job or his past. What matters is how he treats our daughter. You're too trusting sometimes, Robert said, but his tone held affection. And you're too suspicious. But we balance each other. Margaret's voice grew warmer. Did you see how he helped with everything today? Dishes, barn work, carrying firewood. He didn't have to do any of that. True, Robert admitted. Most of Olivia's previous boyfriends acted like manual labor was beneath them. Nathan doesn't act superior. He asks questions, listens to answers, shows genuine interest. That speaks to character. Character matters more than money, Robert agreed. Exactly. And our daughter has excellent judgment. If she loves him, there must be good reason. Nathan felt tears pressing against his eyes. He had expected judgment, suspicion, maybe rejection. Instead, he heard parents trying to understand, trying to protect their daughter while remaining open to possibility. I worry, though, Margaret continued, her voice dropping. What if he's hiding something serious? What if he breaks her heart? Then we'll be here to help her heal, Robert said firmly. Like we always have been. But Margaret, I don't think that's going to happen. Why not? Because I watched him today. Really watched him. When Olivia walked into a room, his whole face changed. When she laughed, he smiled like he'd won something precious. That's not an act. You can't fake that kind of love. Margaret's voice grew thick with emotion. He asked me this morning how we made our marriage work for 35 years. What did you tell him? I said honesty, patience, and choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Good answer, Robert murmured. He wrote it down, Robert, in a little notebook he carries, like he was studying for the most important test of his life. Silence fell again. Nathan wiped his eyes, overwhelmed by their kindness, their wisdom, their willingness to see beyond surfaces. So what do? Margaret finally asked. We trust our daughter, Robert replied. We welcome Nathan into our family. We watch, we support, and we love them both. Whatever secret he's carrying, he'll share when he's ready. In the meantime, we judge him by his actions, and his actions today were those of a good man. A good man who loves our daughter very much, Margaret added softly. Yes, and that's enough for me. Nathan heard movement, footsteps approaching the kitchen doorway. He quickly continued down the stairs, making his footsteps deliberately loud. Everything okay? Margaret called as he entered the kitchen. Perfect, Nathan replied, his voice slightly rough with emotion. Just needed to check something on my phone. Robert and Margaret stood by the sink, dish towels in hand, looking at him with warm, knowing eyes. Nathan wondered if they realized he had heard their conversation. Part of him hoped they did. The truth revealed later that evening, as they gathered in the living room, Nathan made a decision. Olivia sat beside him on the couch. Margaret occupied her favorite chair, knitting needles clicking softly. Robert read the newspaper near the fireplace. Copper snored peacefully on the rug. I need to tell you something, Nathan said, his voice quiet but firm. Everyone looked up. Olivia's hand found his, squeezing gently. I haven't been completely honest about my work, he continued. I do work in technology, that's true. But I'm not just an employee. I own the company, Pierce Technologies. I'm Nathan Pierce. Margaret's knitting needles stopped. Robert lowered his newspaper slowly. I should have told you from the beginning, Nathan rushed on. But I've spent so many years having people treat me differently because of money, judging me by my bank account instead of my character. When I met Olivia, she didn't know who I was, and for the first time in years, I felt seen as just Nathan, as a person. He looked at Olivia's parents, seeing their careful attention. I understand if you're angry. I understand if this changes how you see me, but I want you to know that everything else has been real. How I feel about Olivia, the respect I have for your family, the gratitude I feel for this weekend. All of that is completely true. Silence filled the room, broken only by the crackling fire and Copper's gentle snoring. Robert spoke first. Did you lie about anything else? No, sir. Everything I shared about myself, my values, my feelings, all true. I just left out the financial details. Why tell us now? Margaret asked, her voice gentle. Because I overheard your conversation earlier. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I was on the stairs. Nathan swallowed hard. You said character matters more than money, that you judge people by their actions. I realized I couldn't build a real relationship with you while hiding part of myself, even if that part scares me. Robert set down his newspaper completely. Why does it scare you? Because money changes things. Changes how people talk to me, what they expect from me. I was afraid you would see the wealth instead of the man. Margaret's expression softened. We appreciate your honesty, Nathan, though I'm not sure why you thought we would care about your finances. Everyone cares, Nathan said quietly. Not everyone, Robert countered. Some of us care more about whether you'll treat our daughter right, whether you'll support her dreams, whether you'll be there when life gets difficult. I will be, Nathan promised. I absolutely will be. Olivia squeezed his hand tighter, tears glistening in her eyes. Thank you for telling them. Robert stood, crossing to where Nathan sat. He extended his hand. Thank you for being honest. That took courage. Nathan shook his hand, feeling acceptance flow through the gesture. Margaret set aside her knitting, her eyes twinkling. Well, this explains why you were so confused about proper barn maintenance. I thought maybe city people just didn't understand basic farming. Everyone laughed, tension dissolving into warmth. The morning after Nathan woke early, dawn light just beginning to paint the sky. He dressed and went downstairs, finding Robert already in the kitchen making coffee. Couldn't sleep? Robert asked, pouring 2 mugs. Wanted to catch you before the day started, Nathan replied. They sat at the kitchen table, the house quiet around them. Through the window, the first birds began their morning songs. I want to ask your permission to marry Olivia, Nathan said directly. I know it's traditional, but more than that, it feels right. You and Margaret raised an incredible woman. I want your blessing to spend my life with her. Robert studied him over his coffee mug. Do you understand what you're asking? I think so, sir. Marriage isn't about money or success. It's about showing up every day, especially when it's hard. It's about choosing your partner over and over again. It's about building something together that's bigger than either of you alone. That's what I want, Nathan said firmly. Olivia makes me better. She reminds me what actually matters. I want to spend every day deserving her love. Robert's stern expression cracked into a smile. That's a good answer. You have my blessing, and I suspect Margaret will be thrilled. Thank you, Nathan said, emotion thick in his voice. That means everything. One more thing, Robert added. Being wealthy doesn't disqualify you from our family, but it doesn't impress us either. What impresses us is kindness, integrity, showing up. Keep doing that and you'll always be welcome here. I will, sir. I promise. Margaret appeared in the doorway, her knowing smile suggesting she had heard everything. Are you two having important conversations without me? Just discussing the weather, Robert said innocently. Sure you were. Margaret crossed to hug Nathan. Welcome to the family, officially. The proposal that afternoon, Nathan and Olivia returned to the high meadow. Autumn sun warmed their shoulders. The view stretched endlessly, beautiful and peaceful. I have something to ask you, Nathan said, taking both her hands. Olivia's eyes widened. Nathan, I know we haven't been together long by traditional standards, but I also know that every moment with you feels like coming home. You saw me when I was just a man in a hoodie sorting books. You loved me before you knew about the money. You taught me that wealth means nothing without someone to share it with. He knelt on the soft grass, pulling a simple velvet box from his pocket. Olivia Chen, will you marry me? Will you let me spend my life showing up for you, supporting your dreams, being the man you helped me become? Tears streamed down Olivia's face. Yes, absolutely yes. The ring was beautiful, but not ostentatious. A single diamond on a delicate band, elegant and timeless, just like Olivia herself. They held each other as the afternoon light turned golden around them. In the distance, they could see the farmhouse, smoke rising from the chimney, Margaret and Robert on the porch watching with joy. I love you, Nathan whispered. Thank you for seeing me. I love you too, Olivia replied. Thank you for being worth seeing. They walked back to the house hand in hand, ready to begin their next chapter together. A chapter built on truth, love, and the understanding that real wealth comes from connection, honesty, and showing up for the people who matter most. Margaret had already started cooking celebration dinner. Robert brought out a bottle of wine saved for special occasions. Copper barked joyfully, sensing the happiness filling the air. As the sun set over the Vermont hills, Nathan realized he had found something more valuable than any business success. He had found family, acceptance, and a love that saw him completely, not the billionaire. Not the CEO, just Nathan, the man who learned that fortune means nothing compared to being truly known and deeply loved. The end.